Hi, I'm recently retired, and some people may say I have a little bit too much time on my hands. I'm also an avid golfer, and we retired down to the Hilton Head, South Carolina area, where as everyone knows it can get very hot in the summer. I don't ever find a day that's too hot to play golf, but I would like to be a little bit more comfortable. So I decided to put this project together and create my own DIY air conditioner for my golf cart. I know it sounds like it's a little ambitious and it sounds like, well, really, do you need air conditioning while you golf? But I thought, what the heck, I got some time, I got some parts, so let's give it a run. I started out with how do I transfer the cold air to the passenger? And how do I get, what is my source for cold air? Knowing that a compressor uses way too much electricity and my golf cart runs on 12-volt batteries. So what I did was, we recently had our air conditioner replaced for our house. So I kept the coil. There are actually two sets of coils in the air conditioner, and I kept both of them. This is the one coil, and it's got a series of copper tubes that run through these aluminum fins. And when air passes through it, it exchanges heat. The heat is exchanged out, and cold air is then produced out the other side. But I had to find out where my coolant was going to be. I did not want to use refrigerant because I didn't have a compressor. So what I decided to do was create a large block of ice and run the ice water through the lines to use that as my coolant. So I created a box and a freezer out of just a plastic storage container. Just happens to fit exactly in the one shelf in my side-by-side freezer, and happens to fit in this Coleman cooler. But I didn't want to spend a lot of money on this project, it's just a DIY, so I started scrounging around for parts and stuff that I had. Again, the coil I scavenged from my obsolete air conditioner that we replaced. And this Coleman cooler just happened to be the right size for this coil to sit in there perfectly with like an inch or so around the outside. So I found this cooler at a garage sale for 10 bucks. I just took the screws out of the hinges, removed the lid, and I have a nice sized cooler to handle my block of ice, my water, and my coils. Setting this one aside, we can see here, looking at the top here, these coils actually go through here in two different sets. One side and then on the other side. So what I had to do was figure out, first of all, how the water flowed so that I could get the ice water to flow through it and back out to recirculate in the tank. And this is what I came up with. At the end of the tank here, I just found out where it was going in, and I create with a small pond pump that I picked up on eBay, I think for 4 bucks. I think it came from China, so it took 3 weeks to get here, but it was free shipping and it cost me, I think, like $3.95. And what it does is it draws the water through here out of the bottom of the cooler that's sitting in an ice bath, and pumps it into the coils here and comes back out through the center. So then I put a little line on here back to there, so it goes around, it goes back through this side, and then comes back out this bottom copper pipe and just drops back into the cooler, and then recirculates, and it starts all over again. So what I did was, probably wondering, well, why do I have these two wooden strips here on the bottom of my coil? The coil, or the heat transfer, it has a lot of real thin aluminum fins on it. And when I first started using this, that block of ice, whenever you hit a bump, would bounce up against the aluminum fins and then bend the fins over. Well, once those fins get bent, the air can't pass through it, and it becomes much less efficient. So I took my pocket knife and painstakingly went and straightened almost every one of the fins so that I get air going back through it again, so that it would be as efficient as possible. And then I put these two little dowel rods in here and screwed in from the side in this little plate that just happens to be on my coil anyway. So when the ice pops up and bounces, it'll hit these and won't hit the fins, and hopefully not bend the fins over and keep my system efficient. So I measured the top of the cooler and found out the dimensions or whatever, so that I could create a board out of plywood that would fit in there in place of the lid, because the board I needed to cut for opening. So that's what I came with here. As we look at this now, I got a piece of wood, and I created a couple of wood handles for here and here. I got a little sliding door here and here to let the air flow in, or I'm not using it, I close it like that, which blocks it off and helps preserve the ice. Another hole like this was drilled up here, and I purchased what was an air pump that's used in a boat to keep the bilge area from getting fumes to build up. And I don't know exactly what the, it says right here it's 130 CFM, cubic feet per minute pump. So this is what I use to draw the air out and onto the passengers in the golf cart. And then the warm hot air goes in here, goes down through the coils, over the ice, back up the other side, and out through this fan. As we can see on the side here, I put a piece of wood right here, and right here. What this does is it serves a purpose for mounting the heat exchanger to the lid, as well as it creates two different air chambers. This air chamber is where the warm air comes in, goes down through the heat exchanger, over the ice, and then comes back in this way, up into the second chamber, where it is blown out into a pipe that is piped to the passengers in the golf cart. So very simply now, this pump sits in the bottom of the cooler, drawing ice water, flowing it through the heat exchanger, where it comes back out and runs back into the cooler. So it fits in something like this. Pump sits in the bottom of the cooler, the lid fits in there nice and tight like that, and I created a little bit of a switch here. I just happen to have a leftover switch from a different DIY project in my toolbox. So I just use that so I can turn it on and off. And then wiring it on the other end, I just used a little connection here that wires to a cigarette lighter, or an accessory port as they call them now, that I hooked into my golf cart. So then I put this on the golf cart, plug it in, plumb it, and it's ready to blow the cold air on the golfers when the switch is turned on. Fortunately, my golf cart happens to be equipped with a back seat, so I can carry passengers. I've equipped it with a club holder so it'll hold my golf clubs, and then when the seat flips up, I've got room for this cooler to sit right back here, and it is in there tight. I don't have to strap it in, bolt it down, or anything else. Remember before we said we'd use this accessory for like a phone charger or something like that to plug into a cigarette lighter or a auxiliary port. Well, here I have an auxiliary port that I had purchased on eBay. I think it was $1.25 or something like that. And I can just plug this directly into here. And the other end of this is alligator clips that clip onto one of the 12-volt batteries, because I'm using a 12-volt fan and I'm using a 12-volt pump that pumps the ice water through the coils. And then with the switch I have here, it blows air up through until I shut it off. The switch is controls the fan on and off. Again, my air intake here, when I'm out golfing, I just close that. When I come back to the cart, as I walk by, I just slide it open, turn on the switch, and I'm ready to go. The next thing is, how do I get the air from here to be blowing on the passenger or the driver? Well, I originally came up with a hose that came here and just blew it on the back of my neck to cool me off. Actually, by the end of the round, I started to get a stiff neck and found that the way to cool me down the fastest is to have it blowing like right in toward the top of my face area. So then I had to determine, how can I get that air from here up to the front of the golf cart blowing back at me so that I can enjoy the cool breeze right in my face. So I came up with a system of ducting the air up into that part of the golf cart. So let's take a look at that. Just so happened to have an extra dryer vent laying around that I used a dryer vent hose to go from the cooler up in the golf cart all the way over to the side to where I hooked it to a PVC runner. And then the PVC run goes across the golf cart with two ports that blow out, one onto the driver, one onto the passenger. And then up in the corners, I just put a little box to hold this PVC. I don't know if you can see underneath it or not, but I just got two little screws underneath there holding it into the aluminum track on the sides. I did not drill any holes into my golf cart. I used two screw holes that were already there and just used the same screws with a small piece of aluminum angle iron or angle metal. Looking from the back of the golf cart, I can see these two ports blowing, one on the passenger, one on the driver. Sometimes while the passenger is out hitting his shot, I would rather have all of the air blowing on me to get a blast. So with this cap, I can just put it over one of the ends and all of the air will then be blown out the other one, which gives you a quick Arctic blast. You're probably wondering, well, how long does the ice last when you're playing in 95-degree temperatures? Of ice will last the entire 18 holes of golf, 4.5 hours, with ice left over. That's assuming that when I go up on the green, I turn it off and it's not running while I'm up on the green putting. Where this really comes in handy is when you're sitting on the golf course waiting for a slow group in front of you and are just sitting there sweating, trying to get out of the heat, waiting for your turn to hit on the next hole. This is where the system becomes extremely beneficial. Here we are, ready to go. I thought I'd kind of illustrate with these little tissue fins here, the airflow. So we can reach back, turn on my unit, and you see I got airflow blowing at me, airflow here blowing at my passenger, or if I want more airflow while the passenger is out hitting his shot, I just quickly slide this cap over here, double the airflow onto me, flushes my face from approximately 8 inches away, that blows around my face, completely around the sides of my head. It obviously doesn't work if you keep your hat on, because your hat will block the cold air. So when I get in the cart, I just take my hat off while I'm using this. When I get ready or get up to where I have to hit my next shot, I can just turn that off, and out I go to hit the shot. Obviously these things aren't going to be flapping in my face when I'm golfing. This is just on here for illustrating purposes for the video. So this is my version of a DIY golf cart air conditioner. I hope this was a helpful video. If not, I hope it was at least a little entertaining. Thank you for watching.
To know what